Allora fil-programm tagħna hawnhekk f'dawn il-ftit ħinijiet li konna nagħmlu ħafna affarijiet. Waħda mill-affarijiet li għamilna llum ħadna ritratt bħala kru. Konninna ma neħdu ritratt, ħadna wieħed veru sabiħ u tellajnieh fuq il-Facebook tagħna biex intom tkunu tistgħu taqtaw ftit kurzità. Taf kemm jgħidu lin-nies, jgħidu li ma dejjem issemmi Stephen, Paul, il-Joe, daw min huma, Melvin, min huma daw. Issa ħataqtaw il-kurzità għax kollha din hemmhekk fir-ritratt ta' fuq Facebook. U l-fotografu tagħna tajjeb ngħidilkom li kien John Xuereb. You are a photographer for the day today.
Yeah.
How are you, John?
Very well, thank you.
Great. Today, together, we're speaking about this topic. In Maltese, as I was explaining, we'll say contentitza. But in English, you can say contentment and you can say happiness for the same word in Maltese.
Okay.
And you were saying that you think they're very different concepts, happiness and contentment.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a difference between being content and being happy. I mean, truthfully, I think it's probably easier to reach a state of contentment or a state of being satisfied in your circumstances. Happiness is something I think that you can fluctuate in and out of a lot. It's maybe just my own opinion, it's more of an emotional state of being. So, you know, life is not so good right now, you're not so happy. Though you're content with the way things are, you're not all that happy with the overall circumstances. I don't know, but I think contentment is something that a lot of people should foundationally strive for. Because for so many people that I meet, they're always looking for the happiness that's going to come when they achieve something else other than where they are at this moment, which means to me that they're not content in themselves.
And today we've become somewhat obsessed with this happiness. We're always looking for happiness and for an immediate happiness. So anything which makes us remotely unhappy right now, I don't know, a bad relationship, maybe trouble on our workplace, we'll think, oh, this is threatening my happiness, so will I have to quit right now?
Yeah, we make harsh decisions immediately, I mean, it's funny that when people kind of, you know, look past where they are at this moment, and I think it's something that we have to consider, you know, how many times I speak to people and they're, you know, they're not happy with their weight or they're not happy in their life or in their relationships, as you said, and they're striving to achieve better. I think it's great to strive to achieve more, but only when you have a state of contentment where you are, because as we are in the here and the now, you know, as I am right now, I could be better, but I'm alive today. It's been a great day for that reason. I took a 50-50 chance and my eyes opened up this morning. And in that respect, I'm content in where I am. So if it ended at this point, or this is all I could get, I'm good with that. I mean, I'm happy in that respect. And I think that a lot of people do not understand that concept.
Yes, but this is very different to what I usually think. That I say, if I'm content somewhere, that means that I will stop looking ahead and I will settle in my comfort zone.
Yes. Well, I knew that was coming because that's what I was going to say in the beginning. There's a danger as well in contentment, because when you reach that status quo, you don't aspire to anything more. So, but I think in this context, if you're content in yourself and say that if this is the best it could be, no matter how much effort I put into it, if this is the best that I could be, will I be happy? And I would say, yes, of course, I love who I am as I am, and so I accept that. Now, in being content, can I further or even, you know, maximize my situation while still being content? And I would say, yes, I can. And so then I would always strive, because I think it's very important that we strive to be the very, very best that we can be, or else there is no point in moving forward.
That's true.
So, I mean, you know, I don't think that I should stop striving until the day that I really die.
But it also avoids a lot of massive disappointments, because if at least we're happy where we are today, well, if we don't manage to get where we want, it doesn't mean that the world has ended and that we're without value now.
That's it. I mean, you know, I see this, a lot of children are suffering in this area right now because they're growing up in a culture where they're being compared, you know, whether through media or marketing or by the idols that they look at, they're being compared to something that they're not, or they're comparing themselves to something that they're not. And so they don't ever come out of the gates feeling good. They're already 10, 11, 12 years old, already looking at their bodies and saying that it's not good enough, that I'm not good, and that they're comparing to somebody that's, you know, not unreachable, but not where they are at this point.
And being very autocritical as well.
Very much so. And so they're already running into the issues of, you know, body dysmorphic disorder. They're seeing themselves as ugly and not good enough. And that's a real sad state because, you know, this is the time to really be enjoying life because, as you know and I know, is once you break through the 20s and such and you start becoming a responsible adult, you have to live for yourself, work for yourself, take care of yourself, and you don't have the same luxuries as you did as a child. And if you're going to spend the time in your childhood worrying about, you know, trying to get somewhere, you burn yourself out to a point where you create a habit of always not being good enough that never seems to end, even when you're in your 60s and 70s.
That's
you know?
true. And it sort of blocks us from moving forward because we're become so obsessed about our defects that when we come to move forward, sort of all we think about is what we cannot do rather than what we can.
You know, one time I seen a lady, she was 84 years old and she had come in to speak to me and she said that she wanted to lose weight, and I mean at 84 years old I was pretty much astounded, you know, at 84 to say those words. You know, and it was quite impressive, fake eyelashes, lots of rouge on her face, lipstick, you know, and, you know, at one point she got up to get a glass of water and pulled her shirt down past her bottom, you know, which was pretty much indicative of the fact that, you know, she had been judged in her past and she was aware of that. And to see an 84-year-old who wanted to lose weight, it's not because at 83 years old she realized that she was overweight and wanted to change that. It was because at 15 years old, when she was overweight and tried to make the changes, she wasn't able to accomplish it. Not at 15, not at 16, and not at 17. She was never content with where she was, and always said that I will be happy when I get here. Now that was 15, and that was in her own tears of a story, and at 84 years old had never arrived. Now, when you look at that, really, it's tragic. And now, it's tragic in the sense that it's 70 years of fighting and fighting oneself. And the things that she gave up, she never wore a bathing suit, never went to the beach, never took a picture with her children for communions or confirmations or anything, would not be in a picture because of her self-loathing. She was not happy.
She felt self-conscious.
But, I mean, that's to an extreme. I mean,
and saying that at 84 years old.
At 84. So at 84, still trying and still putting up the facade of being part of the game. You know, and you know, I mean, it was a great lesson for me. I'm so thankful that I experienced that because it showed me truly that the path that one goes on at an early age is a path that, unless you do make some right decisions early on, you face that path the rest of your life, and it's a road of suffering if you don't do something.
What would you suggest to parents who are following us at the moment and who have children like this? Because we all know about children, and we all have children who have become somewhat too concerned about their weight, how they look, whether they look like they're superstars.
Yeah, I think parents do one thing right, and that is when you love your child unconditionally, you always tell your child, you always tell your child, you're beautiful, you're great, be confident, be strong. And that's what parents have to do. You have to encourage and empower and do those things. You try not to get them to be worried about everything and build the cocoon around them so they become fearful of all things. That's one thing that parents will say, well, we already do that. But I think the one thing that parents need to do aside from that is live it themselves. Because children are very intelligent to the point that they don't really listen to what you say anymore. They do what you do. So when you speak one thing and you say one thing, they hear that, but they go, but you don't do it. I see what you do. You don't eat right. You're crying when you can't fit into a pair of jeans. You look at yourself and go, oh, and that's what children ultimately emulate.
Yes. They're very intuitive, and they'll take that information.
Very much, yeah. They
follow by
feel
example.
that. And so I think that as parents, to be responsible in bringing up their children in the most confident way and teaching them to be content, the parent themselves has to be able to lead by example and be content themselves.
And sometimes, obviously, the parents will give the example on what it means to be an adult. And sometimes the children will think that in order to grow up and in order to be like their parents, they will have to sort of simulate this behavior, being discontent, always, as you're saying, always saying that I'm not good enough, looking in the mirror and saying I'm ugly, well, putting on all this show, I don't know, fake lashes, as you're saying, and I don't know, makeup every day to cover up. And that's something we'll think is normal if we're brought up in a household like that.
Yeah, I mean, nurturing is, I mean, how children are raised is basically a nurtured environment. So, you know, the children will ultimately be what their parents have bred into them. The thing about that, of course, is that children don't have the mindset that adults do. So even though we've kind of gone through things, we understand why we're doing what we're doing. As a child, you don't understand it. So you see it, that's it. It just becomes law. It becomes the way it is. And so many times, then that 19-year-old who steps out into the world on their own is now lost, completely lost, because they don't really have a sense of self. because they haven't been able to experience it for themselves. It's important that not just children, adults, all people, I think we're very blessed. We're very blessed. We live in a culture, there's no war, there's no famine, there's no real serious issues. You know, we have the freedom to choose. You know, we have the power to make what we want to make happen. We can do that every single day by looking in the mirror and saying that we're going to do something. I think it's important that we understand that we should be thankful for where we are. And then, of course, always keep putting the pedal to the floor and move forward.
That's true. And do you think that we should give messages of contentment to our children by affirming what's good in them and us? Or would it seem like boasting?
No, I don't think it's, I mean, maybe some might see it as boasting, but I think we talked about this before, you know, being very confident or self-assured, you know, sometimes it looks like you're boasting or being, you know, too proud, but it helps us to build our own self-esteem and our self-awareness. I mean, if you can't look at yourself and say, I am good, I'm great, as a matter of fact, I'm good, I'm great, and, you know, I have the power to do all of these things, and so what's holding me back? Nothing but me. I think that's a very positive step, and I think that if we try to do that, even though we might see that as being opposite of what we've done in the past, maybe we would bring out a whole new breed of children, and it might be nice to see it.
And it also boils down to positivity. We always speak about this. It would be very easy to think about the things that we don't have, because there's an infinite list, and anyone can pile up an infinite list of things that he doesn't have.
Absolutely.
But then there is another list of things that we do have, and which we can be grateful for.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, how many times I ask people, you know, how they feel, like, how do you feel today? Is everyone great? And you hear the you know, and it's like really, and it frustrates me because, well, I mean, you woke up this morning, and my God, like, be happy. You know, you have so many things at your disposal right now. It's not about, you know, how you're going to get this, or, you know, if you can get that, or you'll try to get that. It's within your grasp. You're swimming in success. You just have to accept it, and that's a positive concept that people have to adopt in their life. Because if you don't adopt these concepts, then you're really living the opposite, which is, you know, I mean, everything is about, well, prove it to me, you know, I mean, I don't know, we'll see, hopefully I could get it, I don't know, I'm not lucky enough, my parents weren't lucky enough, I'm not either, and, you know, it takes us down a wrong path. And
it's true, it's true.
Yeah.
U hemm ħafna affarijiet f'konna ngħidu jiena John li għandna għalfejn nkunu grati għalihom u nkunu kuntenti li għandna, u naħseb meta aħna nkunu kuntenti bl-istat li aħna nkunu nistgħu nimxu il qudiem għaliex anke meta nħarsu lura m'hemmx għalfejn ngħidu isma' jien ma rnexxilix, imma nkun kuntent b'dak li rnexxieli nagħmel, u ċerti li kulħadd għandu lista ta' affarijiet illi għandu għalfejn ikun grat għalihom u għandu għalfejn ikun kuntent ħafna għalihom. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Sometimes it's all a matter of perspective.
Yeah, that's what it's always about, I think. Always. Yeah.
Grazie ħafna lil John Xuereb. Min jixtieq aktar informazzjoni jista' jikkuntattjana fuq il-paġna tal-Facebook tagħna hemmhekk diġà hemm is-suġġett ta' John. Ġifieri tistgħu tiktbu taħt is-suġġett u John ikun jista' jwieġibkom dwar dan. John.
I was just going to say that if anybody has any topics that they would like us to talk about, they could also do that on Facebook and kind of give us a suggestion list.
Right. I'm sure they follow our spot. I know that.
Sure.
So whoever has any suggestions minn għandu xi suġġerimenti jista' jiktbilna fuq il-paġna tal-Facebook u jiena ngħaddihom ovvjament lil John. Grazzi ħafna John. Mument ta' telebej meta niġu lura se nitkellmu ma' Pamela Muscat dwar l-ADHD, ġifieri jibqgħu hemmhekk.